Hello there, and welcome to the Meaningful Stitch. This is episode 49, and I'm Amy Palko, and I'm coming to you from Edinburgh, Scotland. And this is where I like to share my knitting practice and my knitting projects. Although you may have noticed there's not been many episodes recently, so there's quite a lot to share. Settle in, might be a long one. Grab your knitting, grab your tea. I've got mine. And I'm also battling some light conditions here, as you can perhaps realise. This is because we're now very close to the winter solstice. In fact, it's just a couple of days away. And the sun where I live is now very, very low in the sky. So for a few hours in the day, it is shining directly into the room where I do my podcast recording. And the rest of the time, it's nowhere to be seen at all and it's far too dark. So this is about as good as it's going to get, I'm afraid. We'll see how it progresses over the course of the podcast recording. Hopefully it won't get too dark. I do have my lighting. I've got my new sound system as well, so I'm hoping that that's going to work all okay. So it's all happening today. All happening. What you need to know is that the show notes, so everything that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to try and reference it all with links, and that will be in the description box below. There will also be a link to a Patreon page, which is free to access for everybody, and you can find more extensive show notes there that includes photographs. The Patreon is also where you can support the channel and receive various different rewards. So it's also where I share a lot of my goddess guidance work. And that's what's been keeping me particularly busy recently. I'll explain more about that in just a second, but before we get to that, I wanted to share the card that I've drawn for us for today. And that's because in every episode I like to share an oracle card that I've drawn from one of my collections. And these cards are very much about providing a perspective, a window on our world. I think of them as little art galleries that we can draw from, and they provoke us into thinking, into reflection. So I don't use them for divinatory purposes. I don't use them to forecast the future. I tend to use them much more to explore what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and interrogate, I suppose, a bit more about my own personal practice. So the deck that I've drawn a card for us for today is from the Goddess Oracle. It's a beautiful deck. This is one of my favourite goddess decks, and it's by Amy Sophia Marashinsky, and it's illustrated by Hrana Yanto, and they really are beautiful, beautiful illustrations. And the card that I drew for us today is Artemis. Artemis is from the ancient Greek pantheon. She is the goddess of the hunt. I like to think of her as the goddess of aiming true. Now, the reason why I've shared a goddess card with you today is because, like I said, I've been very, very busy because December and January are the months that I share the 2024, this year's the 2024, My Word Goddess readings. So every year I do these My Word Goddess readings, where I connect you with a goddess guide for the coming year, and I give you some ideas for words that you might want to choose as your word of the year. These are by far and away my most popular offering, and they sell like hotcakes. I have a long list, which is wonderful. I'm always so incredibly overwhelmed and joyful about the response that these readings receive. And so yes, they are now available. I've been hard at work putting those together. I always like to put a little something along with it, and this year that something is motivational messages for makers, artists, and creatives. So I've connected with each one of the 40 goddesses that I work with and asked them each to contribute a message that I thought would be a supportive one, or an inspiring one, or a comforting one for you in your creative self-expression. And I've noted them all down, created a printable, so you can now cut that printable up and create your own goddess guidance deck to support you in your making. But I thought I would share with you the message from Artemis, seeing as that was the one that was drawn for today. So, Artemis's message, the goddess of aiming true. Know what you want to achieve. Get clear on your target, take aim, and let your arrow fly. Now, I think that's pretty good advice, particularly for us in our making. I think I can quite often get a little bit caught up in what I'm going to cast on next, what do I want to create. Sometimes I end up a bit overwhelmed by all of the amazing projects and inspiration that's out there, but Artemis really invites us to get a bit more comfortable with what it is that we truly want and to move towards our destination, to move towards our goal. As you will see, I've got quite a lot a lot of goals have been hit recently. And so I want to share with you my finished objects, my works in progress, and some of my dream knitting as well. So kind of what's on my list for 2024. What would I like to be casting on? What do I want to focus on? So this is Artemis really helping me get clear, I think, on what some of my knitting goals might be in the following year. But it's not just been the 2024 My Word Goddess readings that I have been hard at work on and releasing out into the world. Incidentally, a link for those, if you're interested, will be in the description box below. But the other thing that I've been working on is what I'm wearing. So this is the Coorie In Poncho. I put up a little video a couple of weeks ago to coincide with the release of the poncho pattern. This was originally, I'll show you this here, this was my red version, which I knitted in Holst Supersoft Venetian, held with Kidsilk from Drops in colourway red. Now I'm really going to struggle to show you any kind of good colour representation here because of the light, but never mind. You know, it is red. It's a very simple top-down poncho that's knitted with the raglan increases which sit down the front and down either sides. There is some short row shaping at the back, which then kind of creates this beautiful neat V in the 2x2 ribbing, and there's 2x2 ribbing to finish off, which has been shaped with the increases there. So that was the original one that I created, and I made it because I originally had a red poncho that I loved. It was very similar to this one, and it got eaten by moths. So I recreated it. I shared it here in the podcast. You all seem to really love it, so that was wonderful. And so I looked at my notes and I put together a pattern and I re-knitted it. And this is what I've finished in the meantime since I last recorded a full episode. And this is knitted in Ginger Twist, Masham Mayhem DK in the colourway Crunchy Leaves. I have alternated my skeins at the transition points just to make sure that there was a little bit of continuity in the hand-dyed yarn, particularly as this is a slightly more variegated shade. It's a little bit shorter than the original version, and that's probably, and then there's a couple of other sort of small adjustments that I made from the original to this one, but the gauge is very similar to the original, and this pattern came out, oh dear, this pattern came out at the end of November, and it's had a lovely reception. Thank you all so much for buying a copy if you are one of those that have bought a copy, and thank you so much for sharing the pattern and for your support and your enthusiasm. It's been very, very appreciated. The Coorie In is available on Ravelry, but it's also available on Payhip. So if you have difficulties with Ravelry, don't worry, I've got you covered. You can also buy it from Payhip too. So I've seen quite a few different versions popping up now, which is a wonderful thing to put a design out into the world and start to see it being represented and expressed in a myriad of different ways. One of the ways I've seen people knitting this is using their advents, which I thought was a wonderful idea, and that hadn't occurred to me at all. So people are knitting like an inch a day, using their fingering weight advents held with a strand of mohair. Now, I'm not sure kind of how that's going to work as you get further and further down, because obviously an inch isn't going to use very much yarn up at the top, but then as we move down through the rest of the poncho, it's going to use up a lot more. So yes, I'm not entirely sure about, the yarn measurements and things for a poncho advent, or an advent poncho rather. But yes, I am seeing people doing that, so I'll be really intrigued to see how they complete theirs and how it looks, and yeah, and see some of them out in the world too. So yes, I do hope that you are enjoying knitting this project. I think of it a bit as like a wearable blanket. You can pop it on over the top of jumpers if you need an extra layer about the house. I sometimes feel I need that because it can get a bit chilly around here. But actually, I've seen people wearing them underneath their jackets as well. And if you knitted it a little bit shorter, actually, I think it would sit really neatly underneath the jacket. If you wanted a little bit of extra warmth just round here and round your neck. So I think there's quite a few options with it, and of course there is the option to knit it longer as well, but just keep in mind that you will need a bit of extra yarn to do that, so keep an eye on your meterage. But yes, there we go, it's the Coorie In Poncho. I'm really proud of it, I'm really pleased it's out in the world, and I'm really so glad that you're all enjoying it. So again, links to that will be in the description box below. Okay, are you ready to see what I'm wearing? Because it is also another finished object, and it's on underneath. This is like a, I don't know, like a superhero change. So, there we go. Ta-da! This is my Prairie Skies, and this is a pattern by Imke von Nathusius, and it's from issue 46 of Pom Pom magazine. And this was the one that was edited by Candice English of Farmer's Daughters Fibres. And I loved this pattern when I saw it in the magazine. It was knitted all in one colour, and I decided actually that I didn't quite have enough of one colour, but I did have two colours. And actually I was looking for a colour work jumper to knit with these two yarns, and I just couldn't find one that kind of really sang to me, that really made me go, that's what I really want to knit. Maybe Artemis was guiding me away from from those projects and guiding me towards something a bit different, because you will have heard me say many times on this podcast, if you've been watching, that I am not a crocheter. I would still say I'm not really a crocheter, but I can crochet, as it turns out, a granny square. So, so this is a super simple crochet project. So if you don't consider yourself to be a crocheter, and perhaps you're much more on the side of knitting than crocheting, then I think you could still do this, because like I said, I'm really not a crochet aficionado by any length. So, but I did give it a go. So I did the first few in this lovely colourway here, and all of this is knitted in Lammermuir Harestanes DK. This is the colour Bracken. That's a slightly more truer representation than when I hold it over here. And this lovely dark tealy blue is Lammerloch. Isn't that gorgeous? So I had one skein of this, and I had 4 skeins, I think, of this. And I do still have, as you can see, I still have some left. My original plan had been to do all of the crochet granny squares using this one skein. But I discovered when I weighed one of my squares that actually I was going to have enough to do all of the squares, but then I wasn't going to have enough to do the knitted neckband, and I wasn't going to have enough to do my seams. And I didn't really think I was going to like the idea of a contrast seam, and I really wanted to keep this dark teal colour solid up until the V. So I decided that I was going to do the squares that were going to be closest to my neck in the Lammerloch, and then I was going to switch to squares in the Bracken. And then you pick up your stitches all the way, well, you seam it all together to create your yoke, and then you pick up your stitches to do, well, this is how I did it. I picked up the stitches to do the neckband, so then I could kind of see how it was all going to look and make sure that it was going to be okay. And yes, the other thing that kind of surprised me about actually putting it all together was you do your crochet seams, but you do them so that so it's an exposed seam rather than a hidden one. So if you see, let me show you on the other side here. The seams would be completely hidden on that side, but instead they're kind of like, they're almost raised, you can see. So that meant that I had to try and do them quite neatly. And like I said, I'm not very good at crochet, so so that took a couple of goes. But I am pleased with the effect that I finally got. It's a slightly shallower V on the front, and I'll just turn around so you can see on the back, or try. There's a deeper V on the back. So there we go. That's the crochet yoke, and then you picked up your stitches after you had seamed all your yoke squares together, and then you knitted short rows to fill in, I suppose, the sides, because this is of course sitting on an angle. And then you knitted the sleeves, and then you did a double knitted split hem. Now this is perhaps the only part of this jumper that I'm not completely happy with, and it's nothing to do with the design, it's everything to do with my hips. So I'll show you. This is the split hem. Now I have knitted a size that I thought would suit me nice across, or would fit well across the chest. So I have quite a small upper bust, and so because of that I didn't want to knit something that was going to be really large. I thought it would kind of really dwarf me. But I do have quite wide hips, so because of that this split isn't sitting nicely. As you can see, it's kind of pulling apart. So I have a couple of options. One is that I can try mattress seaming the split, so then it will just be like a high-low hem rather than a split hem. So that's what I'm going to try first. And as you can see, I do still have yarn left over. And then the other thing, if that doesn't work, then I am going to rip it back and reknit the hem, probably to the length of the back, because I do quite like the length of the back. It is slightly, it does come down over my hips. So I think I could rip it back and then just knit a straightforward hem down to the same length as the back, and that would solve the problem of the splits on either side. You might actually have noticed, just as I was showing there, that there was another slight modification that I made, which was I did a tubular cast off, go me. I did cast off using the Lammerloch on both the cuffs and also on the edge there as well. So I would just replicate that if I did take up the hem. So, but we'll see. It does need a little bit of attention. It's the only part of this jumper that I'm not completely happy with. But overall, it is a beautiful jumper. I desperately want to knit some more. I do actually want to knit one in one colour, because I think that would be glorious. I'm not sure if I've got yarn to do that. It's knitted in DK weight, as I said, and I generally, although both finished objects that I'm showing you are making a liar of me here, I was going to say I don't generally knit a lot of things in DK, so I don't often have a lot of DK in my stash. But, and I did actually try holding 2 strands of Holst Supersoft together, and quickly learned that crocheting, my crochet skills do not withstand holding 2 strands together. I got myself in a bit of a fankle, as we would say here in Scotland, which means I got myself in a bit of a tangle, and it ended up quite messy, and it didn't really work out. So that was a bit disappointing. But I think I will try again with a single strand of DK and just do one in one colour. And I might even go up, maybe I'd go up one size, maybe I wouldn't. But yes, I would definitely do the hem differently next time, or maybe even crop it a little bit and not do it quite so long next time. I'm not sure. There are definitely options. I really, really enjoyed doing this. I became quite obsessive. And actually I found doing the granny squares, because I knew I had to do granny squares individually. You don't sort of add them on as you go, you're creating the individual squares. That actually was a pretty portable project, or something I could sit in front of the television and do. As I said, I'm not, this is about the length and breadth of my crochet expertise. I really like, I think it's called the Cherry Heart Crochet, I think it's a podcast, but I actually go to the website because I like their photo tutorials. So if we're watching the television and I go, hang on a second, I can't remember what I'm doing here, which was frequent, then I could just look up that photo tutorial on my phone and I could follow the pictures rather than, watching a video or something, which is harder to do when you're trying to follow the plot of a complicated drama series that's playing out on Netflix or Amazon or something. So, and you're not disrupting anybody around you either. So yes, I use that quite a lot, just to try and refresh my memory on how to do the granny squares in the first instance. And then if I ever sat down and just went, I can't remember how to start it. And I suppose that's the unfamiliarity of a new skill, isn't it? That it takes us a wee while to get our eye in, to get comfortable with it, and then to remember the actions, to build up the muscle memory. One thing that I do remember about this project, however, is that I did have to go down a crochet hook size from that specified in the pattern, because I used the one specified, which I think was a 4mm needle, and I think needle hook, but I think I went down to a 3.5. And the reason why I did that is because I made one square using the 4mm hook, and then I measured it, and it was far too big. So that's why I went down. I think they're supposed to be about 8.5 centimetres by 8.5 centimetres, and when I used the 3.5 hook, I got that perfect. So that worked out just perfectly. The pattern's really easy to follow, which, considering I have never followed a crochet pattern before. I do really love the look of knit stitch with crochet, so I was kind of looking around for a pattern like that, and I did see the Ariana cardigan, I think on It's a Sarah podcast. I think she's knitted a couple, and I think she's modified one to be a jumper. I had a look, and I think that pattern's by Amy Christophers, and I had a look at that pattern and felt a little bit bewildered by it all, and put it away. I might bring it back out now that I've got a success under my belt. Then maybe I will try and do it again and see how we go. But yes, really happy with this. The pattern I could follow, which I was astonished at. I will show you the photograph. Actually, the photograph is very, you can't really see it all that well because it's such a dark yarn and there's not a lot of contrast in the background. It's a beautiful photograph. It's a beautiful jumper. You can see it maybe a little bit better there. So yes, I would really like to knit another one of these in one colour. I think that would be beautiful. Actually, I love this whole book, this whole magazine. There's just so many gorgeous patterns in it that it just makes me want to cast on all of them. The other ones I particularly like are, I love this golden grass shawl here, which has got all of these texture stitches on it, kind of travelling cables looks like, and that's a pattern by Elena Sawyer Jansa of Sola Wool. And the other one I love is this, which is the Chinook Winds, which is a pattern by Este Wango, I think. Oh, isn't that beautiful? I just love that. I really want to knit that. It's not very, I don't think it's going to be very warm and cozy for the winter, so maybe that's a springtime cast on, but it's gorgeous. And of course, you probably have now heard the news that Pom Pom is just about to bring out its final issue, which is very sad. They really have been, producing a very high quality magazine for a long time now, and I think they really gave an opportunity for new designers to experiment and try something new and to get their name out there. And yeah, I think they'll be sorely missed. I don't think there's a magazine out there quite like Pom Pom, so it does, leave quite a gap, I think, in the knitting publications world. So yes, I will miss them. I will be purchasing the final issue. It looks so interesting, and there's so many beautiful patterns, not least by Julia Wilkins. She's got a gorgeous wrap. You might remember I knitted her sugar sweater for my birthday sweater a couple of years ago. She has a beautiful scarf, long wrap, that genuinely looks as though it could be woven. I don't quite know how she's done it, so I'm fascinated to see that. And then there's some other tops and really interesting patterns. So I will definitely be getting that last issue. But there we go. That's what I've knitted from this Pom Pom issue anyway. And that was one of my main sort of projects, I suppose, over the last wee while since I last podcasted, because I don't think I'd started this when I spoke to you last time. So there you go. And I've worn it a few times as well. So I'm starting to get a little bit of pilling. Really not very much though at all. I could just go over it with a pillow though. I love this yarn. Lammermuir is a yarn you've heard me speak about a lot, I think. But they are local to me. It's 2 flocks of Shetland sheep, and they sometimes do blends with other local sheep. I have a beautiful cowl, the Minster cowl by Linda Bjork Eriksdotter, and I used some very special yarn from Lammermuir, which was a blend of their Shetland and a neighbouring farm's Gotland. And I used it undyed with what was the one? I think it might have been Hillesvog Solier, I think was my contrast colour in the colourway Cognac for that. But it's a yarn that I've really enjoyed using. It's small clips, so it's small amounts, and so I tend to buy it where I find it, because I just think it's so beautiful, and that tends to be at these kind of smaller festivals and events. So I think I first bought the Gotland blend from the Scottish Wool Producers Showcase. I bought this beautiful Bracken colourway at the Scottish Yarn Festival in Perth. And then I bought this Lammerloch colourway when I went to Yarndale. Gosh, so many festivals that I've been to in the last year. It's a bit of a struggle trying to keep them all straight. But yes, news on that front. We have the Scottish Wool Producers Showcase has been announced. The dates have been announced for next year in March. And then there's a new festival that's going to be happening in Edinburgh in April called the Woolly Good Gathering. So they're currently doing a Kickstarter. And then there's other festivals that are happening too. So Scotland has got quite a few festivals now. And of course we'll have the Scottish Yarn Festival again in September too. So yes, lots and lots of things happening. It's all very exciting. So there we go. That is my first finished object. Well, technically it's my second if we include the poncho. The next one is a little hat. And I cast this on because at the beginning of December, it got really, really, really cold. And my head was really cold. And I was going on a bit of an adventure on the 1st of December, which I'll tell you more about in the What's Bringing Me Joy section. But I decided that I was going to very quickly whip up this hat. Now it's not blocked, and actually I think it probably could do with being blocked, but it's not blocked so far. I knitted the Stick Season hat, which is this pattern here, and it's a lovely pattern by Rebecca Clow of the Creabea podcast, and it accompanies her beautiful Stick Season jumper. but I have just knitted the hat. Now this hat actually came out, I think, as a charity pattern. So if you bought it in the month of November, then I think proceeds went to the Vermont Flood Fund. Rebecca has another charity, two charity patterns actually at the moment, the Daft Days cardigan and the Daft Days shawl. Both are designed to be used with Advents, but you could knit them in one colour, or you could knit them in two colours, or you could use your stash or whatever you have. They're really fun projects, and there's lots of really beautiful examples out there in the world already. And she is giving the money to those from those patterns to the Fistula Foundation. So she always finds really wonderful charities to give money to. So yes, highly recommend that you go and check out her current patterns and her past patterns, because she's a prolific designer, very productive, very imaginative, really, really creative, but very clear in her instructions. They're very easy to follow. This was an easy to follow hat. I think the sizing of it is really good. I have knitted this in Brooklyn Tweed Arbor in the colourway Black Fig, which I bought from Firefly Fibers in Wisconsin when I was over there staying with my friend Jackie Rose. And so she bought 2 skeins of the Black Fig yarn as well, and she's also going to be knitting a hat too, I think. So we're going to have matching coloured hats. I don't think she's knitting the same design, but I think she is going to knit the hat in the same colour. But I'm really pleased with how mine's turned out. I think it is a good fit, but I think it could do with being, this is why I think I'm going to block it. I think it could do with being ever so slightly looser, because sometimes, maybe it's just because my hair gets slippy, I don't know. When it's just been washed, you get slippy hair, and then it just starts to rise up off my head. And then I look like my head's a bit of a funny shape. So I think it could do with being just ever so slightly bigger, which I think would be totally resolved through blocking. The way that I like to block hats is I wash them, leave it to soak for a while, try and get as much water out as possible, roll up in a towel, stomp on the towel, and then remove it from said towel. And then I like to blow up a balloon that is, I think, roughly the size of my head. So it's quite difficult to estimate the size of your head. I suppose you could blow it up and then you could measure it. That seems a little specific. I don't think I'll be measuring a balloon circumference. I'm not that obsessive about balloons. But knitwear, yes. But yes, so then you pop the hat on the balloon while it's still damp and you let it dry. And then that's your hat blocked. Unless it's a berry, in which case I don't do that. I put a side plate inside the berry and let it dry, so it creates the nice shape around it. See, all these household objects really do come in handy for other things other than their intended purpose. So there we go. It's my stick season hat. It's a textured pattern. It's very easy to do. It was very quick. I think it took me, I cast it on the Wednesday and I was wearing it on the Friday. So it was super fast. The yarn feels really nice. It's not itchy at all. I think it's 100% Targhee. And that's a blend, that's a breed we don't get over here. So I don't really know what a Targhee sheep is, or what it looks like, or what its properties are of its fleece. But what I can tell you is it does feel lovely and soft. It does feel woolly, but it's not crisp or anything. It's not got that kind of dry handle that I think you sometimes get from rustic yarn. But it does keep my head very warm and is currently my coziest hat. Possibly because it is closer fitting. It's got this, obviously, the folded brim, so you've got the double fabric around your ears, which helps too. And yeah, I'm just really happy with it. I'm wearing it quite a lot, and it is keeping my head nice and toasty. So it has warmed up a little bit as we've gone through December. The start of December, like I said, was absolutely frozen. but it has warmed up a bit, so it's not been quite so chilly, but I don't imagine that's going to last for long. So there we go, that's my other finished object. And then my other finished objects are gift knitting. Now, I swithered about showing this to you or not, because I don't want, obviously, people who are, going to receive the gifts to see them. But seeing as those people are my children, I'm pretty sure my children don't watch this. I will show you what I've been knitting them. If you do know my children and you are watching this, then please don't tell them. But I have been knitting the Maxine hot water bottle covers by Laura Penrose. The pattern came out just really, really recently, just a couple of weeks ago, and I have been manically knitting them ever since. So the first one that I have for the children is this one here. So you can see it is colour work. You're only ever using 2 colours at a time, so it's very easy to do. I do two-handed colour work, which means that I throw with my right hand and I pick with my left. Is that right? Yes. That was a bit, yes, I think that's what I do. I do like continental with my left and I throw with my right. So that makes it quite easy. My stitches aren't looking too bad considering it's not been blocked yet. It will look better. This is Holst Supersoft, which I'm holding double. The green here is 2 strands of JC Rennie 4-ply from some of my many minis. The red and the white are both Holst Supersoft as well. So it's knitted from the bottom, so we start with a provisional cast on, and then there's a little bit of shaping, and then you move into your chart, and then we've got our decreases, and then there's options for either a 1x1 rib or a 2x2 rib, and then I've done a tubular cast off for the top there. And I have not yet woven in my ends, so I will show you what it looks like inside. Oh dear, there's a lot of ends to weave in. I will need to find a movie to watch and sit down and just blast my way through all of these. But yes, these are all my ends that I still need to weave in. They look a bit more drastic than they are because they're quite long and then they get a bit tangled. But it doesn't actually take me a huge amount of time to weave these in, so it's not a big deal. I think that there are various different ways in which you can catch your ends as you go, and I have done that on other projects. Don't really know why I've not done it on this one, but I haven't. So anyway, you can also see my floats. There you go. I am knitting this magic loop. Again, I'm not super keen on magic loop as a general rule, but that is absolutely the easiest and most straightforward way to knit these. And actually, as I'm doing it, I'm becoming more comfortable with it as I go. So that's good. And yes, so this is the colourways here, kind of Grinch inspired with the bright green. And then I've got this one. This is also Holst Supersoft. In fact, I think this is all Holst Supersoft, this one. And I'm just holding the Holst double the whole way through. So that's another one. And then I've just finished this one. So this blue here and the purpley pink, they are both Holst Supersoft held double with a JC Rennie mini ball. So it's a really good way to use up some of your stash. Let me show you some of so these are some of my JC Rennie mini balls. So it's really handy for colour work and a lot of fun actually, just kind of going through them and deciding, oh dear, now everything's falling over. Oh dear. But yes, the JC Rennie mini balls are excellent for doing colour work. They are that lovely blend of being grippy and still a little bit of their spinning oil in, so when you wash and block them, they bloom really beautifully, and then the fabric becomes soft and it's coherent, and it's, yeah, I just really, really credit it. Same with the whole Supersoft. I have quite a few cones of Holst Supersoft, so I've been winding some of that off and then holding it double in order to do, like, mostly the background colours are all going to be in Holst. That said, I am currently working on the fourth. I'm doing 5 altogether, people, so I do still have another one to cast on after this, but this is currently where I'm at with this one. This is a dark green. Would you believe it? Oh, there you go, you can kind of see it there. What colour is it? Pine Forest. And this is Woolly Knit British Wool. So again, I've got this purpley pink, I've got the red, and I've got the white. So I'm just working my way through the chart, and I cast this on yesterday. So I will crack on with that today. It'll be off the needles tomorrow, and the next one will be on, and they will be completed. I will have all 5 done by Christmas. I just have to make some decisions about what the next one is going to be. So I'm just kind of deciding as I go. It's just fun. It's not absolute. I'm not completely settled. There's still flexibility there. So that's what I'm working on. That's what I've completed. What I'm still working on. Okay. So this is the project. So this just brings me so much joy. I just really, really want to work on this. So once all of the hot water bottle cozies are completed, I'm just imagining Christmas, Boxing Day, Betwixtmas, just doing this garter stitch and working on this glorious Soho Square by Jackie Rose. This is what I have so far. It is huge. Look, it's huge. Oh, to make sure I don't get it in my cup of tea. That would be a disaster. Well, not a disaster, just sad. Anyway, this is what I've got so far. So I finished the pink half. I finished the blue up to the first stripe, and I've got a couple of rows of the green done. So this is Linen Quill 4-ply by Pearl Soho that Jackie very generously gave to me when I was visiting her over in Wisconsin. And the colorways are Pink Pop, Blue, Clover Green, and Dark Denim. Jackie actually said it reminded her a little bit of Benetton. Do you remember Benetton? I was in Waverley Market yesterday. Now, if you are a long-time resident of Edinburgh, or if you lived in Edinburgh a long time ago, specifically the 90s, or even maybe late 80s, there was Waverley Market, which was it's a shopping mall. It's still there. It's gone through various different iterations. I think it is actually gone back to, is it Waverley Mall now? I don't think it's called Waverley Market anymore. But everybody will still know it as Waverley Market. It's that kind of place. And in it had a United Colours of Benetton shop. And I used to love to go in and look at all of the colour combinations and the really kind of bright and contrasting colours that they did in their sweatshirts and things. So yes, when she said that, I could absolutely see it. And I just love that. So yeah, I just really, it's such a soothing knit. And it is, I'm just loving these stripes. It really, I find that I'm very colour change motivated. And so there's something about getting up to the point where you bring in your first stripe, and then you bring in your second stripe, and then you bring in the last part of your triangle, and then you get to this big colour change, and then you want to get again. I find that I don't want to put it down. However, I have been putting it down in order to get these hot water bottle cozies done, but yes, this is very much in my in my near future. So we'll be sitting down and cracking on a bit more with that, I think. And that's all the current whips. But I do have some next knits. Specifically, in fact, I'm going to take a slurp of my tea before I tell you about my next knits. My next knits. Well, you might have seen that Andrea Mowry recently brought out the Traveller shawl pattern, and I am obsessed. I got it straight away. I love the look of it. I love how these kind of garter bumps are so simple but so effective, and how the construction of the shawl works, so you have them going in these different directions. And I think it could be, I've seen versions of it in kind of variegated and hand spun. I've seen some people do plain, like just one colour version, and I love every version. But what I'm thinking I might do is I might use my Advent. So, for the last few years, my mum and I have exchanged a Christmas Advent of yarn. And usually we discuss it beforehand, and sometimes we'll choose sometimes we've chosen like a piece of artwork to give a sense of what kind of colour scheme would be interested in receiving. But this year it has been a very, very busy year. There's been lots happening. And so we didn't discuss it, and I think I just kind of assumed that things were too full on, and so we were just going to leave it this year. And then my brother called me and said, he called me on, what was it, the 30th of November, and said, "Are you free? Can I come over? I have a yarn Advent for you from Mum." And I was like, oh! So he came and popped over, and he brought this gift bag which is full of these wrapped skeins, and I've been opening one every day, and it's been such a surprise because I didn't buy myself a yarn Advent, and I have had a yarn Advent that's been gifted to me by my mum over the last couple of years, and I also did a swap Advent last year. So I was feeling well. I was really far too busy to feel like to have any focus on it at all. But when it was coming up, I was watching other people opening theirs, and I was thinking, oh, that would have been nice, and I should have maybe made more of an effort to get on that and all of that. But anyway, to then have one surprisingly appear, and then the joy of opening it up every day, genuinely has been just delightful. So let me show you the skeins that I have opened so far. So this isn't an Advent, I don't think this is an Advent as such, in that it wasn't sold as an Advent. I think it was sold as 2 sets of 12 minis. And they are BFL, so Blue Face Leicester. I just love that fibre, it's just beautiful. And the dyer is River Knits. And I think my mum said that she bought the bright set and the muted set. So some of the skeins are like brighter, I think they're like brighter versions. And some of them are the same sort of colours, but they are more muted. So, can you tell my mum knows me well? She basically just, these are like all my colours. Oh, and we're still going. And we're still going. So this is what I've opened so far. And like I said, maybe you're getting a bit of a better colour representation now. The sun has moved slightly further round. I'm hoping I'm not going to descend into darkness before I get to the end of the podcast. But I think you are getting a better representation of the colours at the moment, which is good, because I really wanted you to see them. I have already wound up. Oh no, this fell on the floor. I've already wound up these ones here. And I now need to wind all of these ones up, and I've still got some to open because today is the 19th. Yes, today is the 19th. So yes, I've still got some to open up, and then I will start winding them. My plan is to wind them into one ball, and these are 20 grams, and then I'm going to wind off to create another 10-gram ball. And then what I'm thinking I might do, and I don't know, I'm not completely decided on this, but what I thought I might do is pair up the skeins. So I've got one of the brighter ones and one of the more muted ones. I'm pretty sure those are a pair. This is like the brighter version of this one. Or, let me find another one. I think this is the brighter version of this one. So the idea that I had, I think these two might be, see? So I think what I could do is hold 2 strands double, because it's I think it's a worsted weight, or DK weight shawl. So I'm going to need to hold 2 strands together. So I thought what I could do is I could hold 2 strands together of the dark, and for the stockinette portion, and then 2 strands of the bright for the garter bump section, and then move through my colours like that. So that's one option. The other option is to do a bit of a fade, so holding 2 strands of this, and then a strand of this and a strand of that, and then 2 strands of this, and then move through my colours in that way. I think fingering weight's very good for creating these kind of really consistent fades. So that's an option as well. But yes, I've got quite a few options. I think these two are also a pair. Do you see these? Aren't they just absolutely beautiful? I love these so much. I think maybe, I don't know. Of course, I've still got a few to go, so yes, I'll need to sit down and pair them all up and figure out exactly how I'm going to move through this shawl pattern. But I'm very excited about that. And I'm also thinking that might be a Betwixtmas cast on. Betwixtmas is, of course, the week between Christmas and New Year, which is the time when I watch the Hobbit Extended Edition trilogy, and then in the week after New Year's when I watch the Lord of the Rings Extended trilogy. So I have lots of knitting time, and I kind of really try and decompress a little bit at that point, because things really have been incredibly busy in the lead up to December, when I need to get everything ready for these readings, and also with the Coorie In pattern release as well. And then, of course, there's all the Christmas things that are going on, and there's all my regular work with my client calls and monthly guides that go out on the first of the month. So it's just been really full on. And so I tend to find that then there's all the presents and the meal planning and all of that kind of stuff too. So I tend to find that when I get to Christmas, I really am pretty exhausted. So I really look forward to the first couple of weeks following Christmas, the Betwixtmas week and the first week of January, because that feels like a bit of downtime, and that will be a lot of relaxing knitting and film watching. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and I think this traveller shawl pattern could be a really delicious way to kind of dive in. But then other next knits, well, next on the kind of the designing front. Now, I've always said I don't really see myself as a designer, but I have really enjoyed putting out these patterns, and it has been so fun seeing everybody's reception of them and seeing them moving out into the world and seeing them being modified and expressed and explored. And I think maybe in 2024 I would like to do more of that. So I have 3 projects, 3 design ideas. They're all for accessories. I'm not quite moving into garments yet. Maybe that will come in 2024. I'm getting used to never saying never, because I said I would never do designing, and that was clearly a lie. So, so yes, there's 3 accessory ideas. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed about doing both the Gallus scarf and the Coorie In Poncho is being able to give these kind of tutorials that accompany, and that they can kind of take you through a process of building on your skill set. Yeah, so with the gala scarf, we had the I-cord cast on, we had the I-cord edgings with the yarn overs, and we had the German short rows. And then with the Coorie In, we're basically going through some of the techniques of a top-down sweater, but just without the splitting for the sleeves. So you learn again about how to do a bit of short row shaping. You learn how to do a stretchy cast on, and yeah, you get a sort of a sense of how to do your raglan increases. So I like the idea of building on that skill set through accessories. And so the next few accessories, one will be a brioche, one will be a colour work, and one will be a lace. A relatively simple lace, I will just say. So I'm just not going to tell you like a huge amount about what the plans are for those, but I did want to show you the yarn that I'm thinking of for both the brioche project and the colour work project. So the brioche project fell on the floor when everything else fell on the floor. But basically my idea for that is to do 2-colour brioche, because I think 2-colour brioche is easier to see what's happening with your stitches and what's coming next. So I've got these cakes, these skeins all caked up already, and this is BC Garn Samilla. It's a sport weight, and it's just in black, showing a bit warmer just because of the quality of light that I've got at the moment. And then I have some yarn from a previous advent that my mum did for me, and it's these gorgeous balls of Fonte. Now this is Fonte tartan, and these are BB Merinos. I've got a collection of them with complementary skeins of balls of mohair. So there's the one that would go with that. And let me find some more in here. Everything's been falling down. I think that's one there. So I was thinking that my second colour would actually be the fingering weight held with the mohair, and I'll move through some stripes. So that's a little bit of an indication about what I'm planning. Gorgeous mohairs and merinos with the solid black as the contrast. I do have hopes that it will end up reversible, so it will give you a couple of different options, but I'll need to see how that works out and how neat you might need to be in order to make that fully reversible. So that's something to be explored and investigated in the new year. The other project that I want to do is going to be using the beautiful Scottish Yarn Festival yarn, which is this gorgeous blend of Cheviot and Shetland. So 80% Shetland, 20% Cheviot. It's 4-ply, although there is also DK available, and it's 100 grams, which gives you about 350 metres. They are absolutely exquisite colourways. I'm so excited about working on these, and I think this is probably one of my colour combos, so it will use 3 colours, this project, and I'm so excited. So these are all projects to be cast on, but yes, something interesting coming in 2024. So those are the design ideas, my Betwixtmas project, and last of all, I just wanted to share actually some designs from 3 designers that I really, really admire and who I just want to knit. Basically, I want to knit everything they do, but I wanted to share with you specifically a few projects from each of them because I think they're really wonderful, and it's definitely some of my dream knitting currently. So the first one is Thea Coleman. Now, Thea Coleman, I think there's going to be a Thea Coleman Cal run by the Knitting Posse in March. So that was rather handy. Well, I think they're focusing on the smaller accessories, but they did say, if you did want to do a larger piece, then you could, and certainly it's her larger pieces that I really love. So she's had a couple of beautiful projects, a couple of beautiful designs out recently. One is the Broken Oath sweater, which has this gorgeous garter panel that runs down the front. Thea Coleman, of course, is an absolute genius when it comes to cables, so all of these are quite highly textured, highly cabled pieces. The other piece that she brought out recently was the Frisky Witch, and again, it's cables, but it's got a turtleneck, a polo neck, and it's a vest. So I think that might be a really interesting transition piece, and it's definitely something that's on my radar. The Widow's Kiss is the one that has been on my favourites for the longest time. It has a beautiful boat neck. It's got some cables, some I think it's also a bit open work as well. I've always loved that, and I just really, really want that at some point. So I think that might be something that's been like on my long-term favourites list that I just really want to knit this year. Another one of those long-term favourites has been Lily Kate France's Bearstow. And Lily Kate France, I think, is another wonderful designer. She currently has an Advent pattern sale going on. So each day there's another pattern going on sale. And so I treated myself yesterday to the Bearstow sweater, which is something that's been on my favourites for a long, long time. It's slightly longer. It has an integrated belt. It has a beautiful neckline. I just think it's classic. It's beautiful lines. I think it would look really lovely from the silhouette. And I just think it's a lovely sweater. She also has the Surpass sweater that came out quite recently, which I also really love because she's got these really interesting welt details on the shoulder. And she's also got this kind of like pleat at the side, almost like a box pleat, just on either side, which kind of then exaggerates like the boxy look of the piece. Makes it almost look a bit like a motorcycle jacket or something. There's something bomber jacket style about it. Motorcycle jacket specifically, perhaps because it looks like it's almost got the armouring in it, but I really love that. And I've seen people do really interesting things like put mohair inserts between the welts to kind of create a little bit of textural and visual difference. I think that's really fascinating. She's also got a pattern called the Slow Down sweater, where she combines mohair with a solid yarn, but in a kind of a different and interesting way, because you've got this V-neck that starts with the mohair and then held single and then just moves into the more solid body, and it's got some nice detail in the sleeve too. So that's also on my favourites list. And the last one is the Abydos, but I think that might be more of a spring-summer knit because it's got these it's a beautiful yoke sweater, again with this welt detail with the mohair inserts. And I just think it's very classy. It's really beautiful. And I'm really interested in casting that one on and knitting that in 2024. And then the other designer that I would like to be knitting a lot more of is Natasha Hornby. She's such a genius with mosaic knitting. She's got a new shawl pattern out called Artis, which uses about 5 different colours, and it's just so beautiful. All her mosaic shawls are beautiful. She's also got the Mare or the Mare, Mare, and again it's a very long crescent shawl that's got some slip stitches in it and some visual detail, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And so that's been on my list for the longest time also. But I do also have, I think, 3 of her patterns already in my library, and there's a 4th one that I want to add. So I have added the Circe, which is this beautiful kind of dolman shaped jumper that's got, again, textural detail all over it. I just think the shape of it is really beautiful. I also really like the shape of her corbis, which is shaped quite similarly to this jumper actually, in that you've got kind of this piece that's worked at the centre coming down to a point, and then you're adding the rest of the sweater around it. And I think that's really fascinating, and she's done a coordinating shawl for that. So there's the Corbis sweater and the Corbis shawl, and both are, I think, are just gorgeous. And then she has the Dion as well, which is a sweater pattern I've had in my library for a long time. I'm really fascinated by it. It's almost like plain stockinette up to about here, and then it moves into more textural details. But the result of that is that it kind of looks like it's one of those jumpers that you kind of wear to expose your shoulders, except you're not exposing your shoulders. The whole thing is covered, but it looks like the jumper starts here, but actually it doesn't. It starts around your neckband. But I think it's really clever, and yes, I think I would really like to experiment with that and see what I could do with it. The one that's not currently in my library, but I want to be, is the Masham vest. And that's because I think she's done something really beautiful with the shaping around the sleeve cap. And because of that, I think it creates a really beautiful silhouette and shape to it. It's got this interesting colour work as well for the body. So I think it would be fun to experiment with that. I think I have yarn that I could use. So I have some Masham Mayhem 4-ply from Ginger Twist Studio, and I have it in the Au Natural colour, which is kind of like a very light silvery brown, and I have it in the Brighter Than Barbie colourway, and I just think the Brighter Than Barbie as the contrast for the Masham with the silvery grey as my main colour, and for the sleeve caps, I think that could be beautiful. In fact, the more I'm thinking about that, the more I want to go and cast it on straight away. 2 more projects I'm just going to share with you. Oh gosh, can you tell I just sit and think about what I'm going to cast on all the time? Is for my husband. He has been asking for another vest. Now, you might remember I knitted a while back for him. I think it was my Favourite Things Knitwear's vest number 4. I knitted it using Woolly Knit British Wool, I think held double. And it's actually in this colourway here that I'm using for the hot water bottle cozy, so the Pine Forest. So he said he would like another one, but in a different colour. So I thought I would knit him one in this colour here, which again is Woolly Knit British Wool. So I would have to hold it double, and it's in the burgundy colourway. And then I thought, after I've knitted him that, what I would like to do is I'd like to knit him a Gallus. And I would like to knit it for him in 2 colours. And I'm going to have to hold this double, again, to make a DK weight, because that's a DK weight pattern. But I would hold this double, and then I would hold the navy blue, and just do a 2-colour Gallus. So I've done a 2-colour Gallus before, although I did that by holding Suri with a main colour. But this would mean swapping out two strands of this for 2 strands of that for the different sections, and moving through the parallelograms in a solid colour. So those are my knitting projects, my knitting dreams, my knitting plans. Artemis is helping me to zero in on my targets, and soon all of these different arrows will be flying, or needles will be flying, certainly, off in the direction of completion, hopefully. So there we go. That is all my knitting plans. Next up is new to me. Now, this is a bit of an extensive section because I've just been very lucky, actually. I've been given lots of beautiful things, partially because it was my birthday in November, so some of it's from that. But yes, what will I show you first? Okay, I'm going to show you this. This was a beautiful gift from Alexandra, who's a viewer and a friend, and she gave me this beautiful project bag. It's from Pajouta Makes. Let me get the card. There it is. Pajouta Makes handmade linen bags. and she does this beautiful embroidery on the front of the bag. So I have been waiting to show you this before I used it properly because I wanted to make sure it was still nice. And along with the bag, she also sent me, these beautiful little stitch markers, these amethyst stitch markers. He sent me 2 gorgeous skeins from the Petit Point Parisien. This is in the Basque sock, and it's in the colorway, this is in the colorway Remember, and this is the mohair silk in the colorway Fluo Rose. They're really blowing. They are actually that bright. They are. They're absolutely amazing. She said she hoped that they would go along with my winter colorways, and they absolutely do. I love these colors. I love this color. I've got lipstick in this color now too. So there you go. That was an incredibly kind gift. Oh, she also gave me a little packet of soak too, called Celebration. So that was an incredibly kind gift. Thank you so much, Alexandra. Truly, truly. That was above and beyond. Just lovely. So I got that. And I got given these most beautiful socks. I'm going to take them off because I don't think I'm as limber as being able to get my foot up to show you properly. But I'm wearing these, so just keep that in mind. These beautiful socks that my friend Sabina made for me. She said she saw the I don't know what the pattern is. I'll need to ask her actually, and I'll let you know. But she said she saw this pattern with the swans and just knew that they were for me, and so she knitted them for me and brought them over, and she gave them to me when I saw her a couple of weeks ago. So yes, I've got my cozy woolly socks on because, as you know, I'm not much of a sock knitter. So that was a very kind that was a very kind gift, and very thoughtful with them being swans because I do love swans. They are among my favourite animals. So I got that. Time Weaver, who is Nicole, she she sent me on a bit of a treasure hunt, and I found this gorgeous packet waiting for me in ginger twist, and inside was these gorgeous, hang on a second, there you go, you can see them better there, these absolutely gorgeous sunstone and amazonite stitch markers, and that's the ginger twist logo. So you can now get your own sunstone and amazonite Time Weaver markers at Ginger Twist Studio because she's now stocking them. Jess is now stocking them there. So that was wonderful. Thank you so much, Nicole. That was such a lovely surprise. And she said that amazonite is the stone which is supportive of creative flow. And I love this because it's got, look at her packaging. Isn't that so clever? She's got some thyme seeds in here. And it's just, honestly, so beautiful. So Time Weaver, now available at Ginger Twist. So I got that. What else? Let me see on my list. Oh, I was sent a beautiful book, which is here. A poetry book called The Fairy of Disenchantment by Sun Hesper Jansen. And I was sent this by the publisher. So, from Christine Ray. Thank you so much, Christine. I'm really enjoying this. And I'm going to read you a poem at the end of the episode from this, which is just perfect, I think. So yes, I was gifted that. I gifted myself this Echoes by Susan Crawford. It's her new book, which has just been published by Lina. Echoes, 24 modern knits inspired by iconic women. This is a beautiful book because not only do you have these absolutely stunning patterns, but you have wonderful stories about, look at that, wonderful stories about these iconic women and what they mean to Susan and why she chose them. I think this is one of my favourites as well. This is called Weather House, and it's a gorgeous shawl I want to cast that. I want to do all the shawls. I've not done lots of shawls this last year, so maybe 2024 will be many more. But yes, Weather House I think is about Nan Shepherd and Nan Shepherd's book, The Weather House. So yes, there's just so many beautiful patterns in it. Like, look at this. This is Dalloway. Isn't that beautiful? Gorgeous colour work. Really interesting ideas. Like, look at this one. This is Emmeline. I'm assuming after Pankhurst. But it's kind of got these bubbles and the colour work. That would be such a fun knit. In fact, some of those JC Rennie mini balls would be perfect for that. Oh yes, and then she's got the Dodie, which is this cardigan, and she's also got the matching Mortmain sweater from I Captured the Castle. Then we've got the Bronte shawl as well there, which is this lovely lace shawl. But it looks like it's in that really beautiful rustic yarn. It looks just gorgeous. I think actually it's maybe in Susan's own yarn. And then there's other just amazing colour work patterns, and oh, I could just wax lyrical about the beauty of these designs. Here's Gaskell. A lovely kind of Aran cable cardigan. It's also very pretty. I've got some yarn I think that would be perfect for this, which I picked up, the Wild Main yarn. Was it called Wild Main? Wild Island? Star? Now I'm just saying random words. I really like this. It's a vest top with a matching cowl. I think that's so smart. I really like that. That's called the Beatrix vest and the Potter cowl. I think you know where they came from. And then there's the Virginia vest. Look at the colour work on that with the corrugated rib. Oh, so beautiful. So that was a treat to myself. What else? Oh, I was also sent another knitting book, and I haven't actually had a proper chance to look at this. I will review this in the next episode. But this is Colour Work in the Round. It's by Anna Dervoet, who is along avec Anna, you may have heard of, and she has done this an introduction to knitting colour work. So it's like full of tips and tricks and tutorials. And there's 5 patterns which will take you through all of these different techniques. I think she does stranded colour work, but there's also some intarsia as well. I could do with getting a little bit more familiar with intarsia. Certainly, it's not something I'm familiar with. It's got advice on choosing colours, but like I said, I'm going to do a proper review on that soon. This was sent to me by the publishers, so thank you very much for the copy, and I will look at it properly over Christmas, and then in episode 50, goodness me, we will have a proper look at that. So that's on its way. And then the last thing that I need to show you, I think, is this. So I was approached by the lovely people behind Red Stag Fibre, and they asked if they could send me yarn. Now, and then I looked them up and I discovered that I think they're based in Texas. So I messaged Bracken and I went, "Are you sure?" Because I live a really long way away. And they said, "Yes, we're sure. We want to send you yarn." And I went, "Okay." So they sent me yarn. So this is what they've sent me. I've got these 2 skeins. These are both DK. It's their base Croft DK, which is 100% blue face Leicester. You do know I love a blue face Leicester. These are 246 yards for 100 grams. And this is the colourway Highland Scotch, and this is the colourway Glass. And they've got this beautiful stag marker that they've added. There's their logo. And then they also sent me these two skeins of, I think these are sport weight. And these are Dunedin. And Dunedin is the Gaelic name for Edinburgh. And this is in the Highland Sport base, and it's 100% non-superwash Peruvian wool. It's 328 yards for 100 grams. So they are red stag fibre. So I'm going to show, here you go, red stag fibre on Instagram and red stag fibre online, I think. redstagfibre@gmail.com it says, but I'm pretty sure. I'll pop the link for their beautiful yarn in the description box, and they have also given us a discount code to use. So I'm going to pop that discount code up here on the screen just now, and I will also include it in the description box. So if you want to treat yourself to some beautiful yarn from Red Stag Fibre, then you can do that too. It does feel really beautiful, and it does have this lovely Scottish connection, Dunedin glass and Highland Scotch. So lovely names and beautiful yarn. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with all of this yet. I've got, well, as you can see, I've got lots of plans. I've got lots of dream knitting. I'm sure I'll figure it out. But there we go. That was also sent to me, so that was very kind. So thank you very much. Oh my goodness, I think that's maybe everything that is new to me. I've been very lucky. I've been very spoiled. So how fortunate am I? Oh, also new to me, I should say, is my best friend Jen gave me this wireless microphone. So that's what we're trying out this time. So hopefully it's worked. I did charge it up before I put it on. It is still glowing green. So I've actually popped it on a light right next to me here, rather than putting it on my clothes, because I knew I was going to be taking the poncho off. Otherwise, it would overheat. So yes, let's hope that's worked well. Okay. Oh no, there is one more thing that's new to me. How could I forget this? I visited my grandma at the weekend, and for a while there, I knew that this was waiting for me, but I knew that it was heavy, and I normally go through on the train through to visit my grandma, and so it was too heavy to bring back on the train. However, when we visited at the weekend, my husband hired a car and we drove through, which meant that I could bring it home with me. And it is this bag. Apologies for the crinkles, but it is this bag here. And can you see what it is? It's buttons! Lots and lots and lots of buttons. So, there is this box here. It's tin. You can tell how old it is because it says St. Michael's. Maybe you remember what St. Michael's is? Marks and Spencer's! So, and it is full of, I'm not gonna tip it up because that would be a disaster, but it's full of, just full of buttons. Now, I think the buttons that are in this tin are actually my great-grandma's, my great-grandma Wilson's. So that's very precious. And inside the bag, inside here, goodness me, these buttons have been collected by my auntie when she's visited various, with my auntie Lorna, who has the cocoon tree. I just love it. I'm looking around. I don't actually have one of her bags to hand, which is unusual because I always do. But she has beautiful, beautiful bags, and her background is in textile. She graduated from Galashiels in textiles, and so she's actually worked in lots and lots of different factories, and she's collected all over the world, and she's collected all of these amazing buttons. So I need to properly go through this amazing collection and see exactly what I have in here, but but because I've been so busy and I just literally got them the other day there, I haven't had a chance to do that yet. But look at all of these shirt buttons. We could be the pearly queens. But yes, there's so many buttons to explore and to go through. So that was another new to me thing, a new to me gift. And how incredible is that? So yes, very, very fortunate, very lucky, and yes, lots to explore. I need to come up with some really special garments, I think, for me to sew some of these buttons on. Okay, so what's been bringing me joy? We're at that section. Bringing me joy. Well, my buttons are bringing me joy, certainly. And Ginger Twist. Ginger Twist moved to their new location, so I went to their opening night just at the end of November there, and they have not moved very far. They're literally just round the corner from where they were before, but their shop is now much, much bigger. Much bigger. So if you had visited them in their previous location, you would have known that it was a tiny, tiny little shop. It was a little bijou gem, and it was, just stacked from like floor to ceiling, full of yarn. It had an amazing stock. I still don't quite know how they managed to fit it all in there, but they did. Some very clever shelving, I think. However, they have now moved round the corner to this much larger premises, and it is glorious. Absolutely glorious. You will love it. I am hoping to be able to share a little bit more about that in possibly the next episode. I'm going to do a special episode for you. But yes, I've been talking to Jess about arranging something for us, so I'm hoping to be able to show you a bit more of that. But what you need to know is that the stock is still stellar, obviously. I think it's expanding a bit. And on top of that, they are now stocking fabric. So if you are into making your own clothes and you're a dab hand with a sewing machine, or even if you're not and you just like fabric, which apparently is me, then you can go and check out their fabric. They've got some lovely patterns. They've got a fabric room. So that gives you a sense, and they're now doing all of the dyeing actually on the premises as well. So they don't have a separate dye studio either, and it's just wonderful and magical, and it was so lovely to celebrate their success with them. And yeah, just go check it out if you can. Go for a visit. You'll be impressed, I think. Another thing that's been bringing me joy is on the 1st of December, my friend Jen and I went to Dundee. We went to the V&A, the Victoria and Albert Design Museum in Dundee, because the Bernard Klein Symposium was being held there on the 1st of December. I have already mentioned Bernard Klein to you several times before. I've gone to workshops, I've been to exhibitions. I'm really very intrigued by him and his achievements and his legacy. I love the way that he used colour and the way that he thought about colour and the way that he kind of explored how to bring hand knitting, and he and his wife Margaret Klein, who did the hand knitting patterns, and they brought out yarn and they worked with mohair and custom tweeds that they would ship to Paris, which was used by Chanel and Givenchy and Dior, and I mean, just it's an amazing legacy and an amazing creative output. And it was fun to be at this symposium listening to people giving research papers about him, about his history, about his work, about his home, about his business, and also about what his lasting legacy is, how he's still continuing to inspire creative practice and how it's being explored within collections as well. So overall, it was just a really inspiring day. It's just so fun to be kind of surrounded by like-minded people who are fascinated by colour and texture and fashion and style and design. So that brought me a huge amount of joy. I really had a lovely day there. The other thing is a little bit more personal, which is that the astrology class that I've been doing with the Faculty of Astrology has come to a close. So that's the first module of the first year, and I managed to complete all of the criteria that were required, and I've submitted my homework. So tick, tick, tick. And really, it's going over everything that I've kind of already covered in my own personal studies. But it's, in order to get accreditation, I need to start from the very beginning of their course and move the whole way through. It's a 3-year course. It's a 9-module course, which you can complete in 3 years. You can obviously take longer to do it. But yes, I am hoping to complete these first 3 over this year. So I've done the first one. It's gone really well. I've met some really lovely and interesting people, and I've just really enjoyed the practice and the process of it, and seeing some of this very sort of familiar and well worked information being presented in new ways, and introducing me to some of the astronomy that I'm not so familiar with. So yes, it's been lovely. I've really enjoyed it, and I will be starting the second module after Christmas. Another slightly more personal thing is I'm going for a solstice haircut. So as you can probably tell, I don't get my hair cut very often. And in fact, I think the last time I had my hair cut at a salon was 2019. However, it's not. I think the ends are really I think it's really needing a bit of a chop. So I think I'm going to get quite a lot taken off it. So I'm quite excited about that. There is something about having booked it for solstice. Solstice is when we are moving into a kind of a period of inward turning, a period of withdrawal, but I think we're also releasing the previous year. And I think haircuts are actually very good for releasing whatever it was that we've been moving through for a long time. So the hair that we've grown that's down here was from years ago, So maybe I'm just ready to let go of some of that history that I'm carrying around with myself, and release it, and enter into 2024 with shorter hair. It'll still be the same colour. I'm not going to dye it, so it's going to be the same colour. But yes, it'll be a different style, and I'll get rid of some of these ends here. So that's quite exciting and a little bit scary. So you will find out how it went. And I'm looking forward to Christmas. We've got all the children coming back to us for Christmas time this year, for Christmas Day. I'm doing quite a traditional Christmas dinner, so we've got a turkey crown that I picked up. We've got some stuffing. We've got pigs in blanket. Pigs in blanket, if you don't know, are like the little sausages that are wrapped up in streaky bacon. I don't know. Just as I said that, I thought maybe that's a specifically British thing, and maybe that didn't make sense to anybody outside of Britain. But pigs in blankets. I've got quite a lot of finger food. I'm going to be doing some candied carrots, and we've got some roast potatoes and some sprouts and all the traditional trimmings of Christmas. So really looking forward to that, and I've got lots and lots of present wrapping to do over the next few days. I think I'm pretty much, there's still a few things I need to get, but I'm on track. I feel like I'm on track. She says, wait till we get to the Christmas Eve, and I realise that I'm totally not. But I'm nearly there. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to having the kids all here. It's been a long time actually since I had all of them together all at once. Just because, everybody's got different work schedules, and everybody's got different, things that are happening at different times. And so trying to get everybody all together all at once sometimes proves a little bit difficult, which is kind of strange, because obviously when they were younger, we all lived together and saw each other all the time and spent our days together. So moving away from that into this kind of more sort of sporadic interactions is quite the shift. But yeah, it does mean that I get to bring them all back together under one roof. I get to feed them all. I get to treat them all. and I get to enjoy them all. So whatever you are doing for Christmas, whether you celebrate or not, I hope that you have a lovely rest of December. I'm going to finish off with a poem from this book that I was sent, this beautiful book, Fairy of Disenchantment. And this poem is called The Fairy Lifts Her Glass on New Year's Eve. What is left and what remains? The weary glass sighs, because in its crystal heart it knows it is every vessel ever blown, every one already broken. In this breath between cycles, my glass, your glass, overflow with emptiness, bubbling questions, art and medicine, and somewhere always kindness. So that makes me think of the song that we sing at Hogmanay, which is our New Year's Eve celebrations, where we say, "Tak a cup of kindness yet," for Auld Lang Syne. So I hope your cups are overflowing with kindness over the solstice, over Christmas, and over New Year's. I will be back again in January with our 50th episode. I'm sure with some of the downtime in between, I'll have lots of knitting to show you, and I will most certainly have finished all of these hot water bottle cozies. If you are still gift knitting, yes, I'm spending speed to your fingers. But yes, and I will hope to see you all back in January. If you would like to purchase a 2024 My Word Goddess reading, then if you buy it before Christmas, then I can guarantee that you'll receive it by the new year. However, if it's not important to you to receive it by a particular date, then they are still going to be available right throughout January. So, link is in the description box below. Okay, my loves, you take good care. Enjoy your making over the Christmas season, and I will see you really, really soon.